Ken, are we good to go? All right. It is 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Good evening to everyone, members and guests. This is the regular meeting of USD 312 Board of Education for March. And Danelle, let the record reflect that all members are present. The next thing that we'll do is stand, if you will, and join me in reciting Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item is to approve the agenda. Clark, do you have any changes?
I sure do. Let's start off by under 2 executive session. We need to have 2 executive sessions, one for negotiations and one for personnel. So I think it'd be just fine to add it. Yeah, let's just add it as an agenda item. So below negotiations, let's add another one for personnel. 10 minutes.
So I want to call that like 2.
All right, 2B. And then we've added some names under resignations. We've added the name Ginger Russell, HGS Para. And under contracts, we've added Teresa Scholl, SCHOLL, Haven Preschool Teacher.
Okay.
Those additions.
So the addition or dividing of the executive sessions, adding Ginger Russell under resignations and adding Teresa Scholl in contracts.
Correct.
Does any board member have any changes he or she would like to make to the agenda? Yes.
Since we're not under a health, an emergency health order anymore, I think we ought to revisit the gating and the masks and see if that's something we still continue to want to do the same way or if we want to make any changes.
Okay. So,
Especially in light of the legislation that may or may not pass later on this month.
so we'll add to number 8 at the bottom, mass discussion.
Well, gating discussion. I think gating is the more important of the two.
Okay, I'm sorry, gating discussion. With possible action, we'll call it. Is that all right with everybody? Any other additions or changing to the agenda? If not, you've heard the changes. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Make that motion.
Ken over here with the motion. Got a second? We'll go with John. All in favor, raise your right hand, and we're off and running 7-0. Next up is our citizens open forum. It's a chance for anybody in the public to address the board with any comments they might like. I don't think we've got anybody signed up. Okay. Item number 5, recognitions, presentations. Clark?
I'll turn it over to Kara Schwint, who kind of oversees our preschool.
So tonight we wanted to highlight our preschool teachers.
So we have Alicia Harbaugh, who is our 4-year-old preschool teacher. And we've got Paula Stuckey, who is our 3-year-old preschool teacher. And I just wanted to take a minute to say their dedication to our preschool students has been phenomenal this year. They take time to connect with our families, and they start our families off with a very positive experience. They're dedicated to meeting the needs of our students and helping them be prepared for kindergarten. So I just want to thank them both for their hard work and let them know that I truly appreciate everything that they've done. So I will turn it over to them, and they're going to talk about our preschool.
Okay, the first thing we wanted to do, we kind of wanted to highlight the curriculums we use. So our first one is creative curriculum. This is a play-based curriculum that aligns with all the Kansas early learning standards. We also use Second Step, which is our social emotional curriculum, and that will help transition them well into the grade school because the grade school uses it as well. And then we also use Conscious Discipline. This curriculum focuses on increasing self-regulation, the sense of safety, connection, empathy, and intrinsic motivation in both children and adults. So what I handed you was a sheet that I got directly from our Haven District site, and it's our kindergarten readiness skills. And so what we did for you tonight was we broke down each of these sections, and so we're going to talk about what they're expecting in the kindergarten readiness, and then we're going to tell you how we're addressing them in the preschool. So one of our first ones is separating from family without being upset, controls emotions and calms self, express his or her own wants and needs, and takes turns and shares when playing with other kids. So these are all the kindergarten readiness, social and emotional skills that we are going to be hitting.
One of the first things that we do is we go out on home visits, and we take the time to meet the children on their, where they're familiar with it, and the parents. And this year we did it a little different. We met in front yards, but it still allowed the child to initially meet us, and it begins the separation process. And then the second step was the parents came with them the first week that we did assessments. So they were in a new environment, but the parent was with them. And then when they started school, we didn't have near the issues that we sometimes do with crying and clinging, that type of thing. So, and other parts of it that we teach are things like, it looks like play, but play is how children learn. And they're learning, in these pictures you can see that they're working together to complete a project, they're taking turns. Everything we do has a purpose. Even though when you just walk in, it looks like it's just playing. Everything is set up so that we meet a goal.
Okay. So self-care skills is something that we focus on every single day, multiple times a day. Using bathroom without help, knows how to wash hands, and picks up after himself or herself. These are just what's listed on the sheet. We do so many other things that hit self-care skills.
I'd say washing hands has been a huge thing this year.
Huge thing this year. We focused a lot at the beginning of the year of how to properly wash hands, covering mouths, using Kleenexes the appropriate way, things like that.
Getting used to following a routine, knowing what's expected of them, having set expectations both in the classroom and out on the playground.
So a couple of these pictures, the one furthest on the left, you see all the kids having their backpacks. Every day the kids are packing their own bags. That means packing their papers. If they have a coat and they're not using it, packing their own coat. I know these seem very basic skills, but these will transition them well into the kindergarten classroom. We have kids putting away their puzzles, again packing their bags, and putting away the toys before they're able to move on to their next activity, center, whatever they choose next. Here are some of the physical and motor development that the kindergarten readiness hits. They can use pencils, crayons, and scissors correctly, skips, jumps, hops, and can throw a ball, and holds a book correctly and turns pages. So this hits both the gross motor and the fine motor.
We kind of went back to some retro activities like gunny sack races. This week we're doing grass skis. We also do science experiments every week, and in this one they're doing frozen spiders, and they're having to use an eyedropper to put vinegar on soda.
And so it's,
Baking soda.
yep, so it's creating a reaction, so the kids are able to physically see how this reaction is presenting itself in front of them. We have all the sidewalk chalk with the fine motor, starting kids writing their names, things like that. And then in this one up here, you want to describe that more, because that's
I
what
do a tear down center, and they're allowed to take anything I get that's broken, that's beyond repair, and they take it apart, and sometimes I even ask them to put it back together. So they're learning how to use tools, fine motor skills, and figuring out how things work. So it's fine motor as well as science.
some more. Usually every single day we have a fine motor activity, and then along with gross motor, because a lot of times we join together to do, whether it's a game or just a group activity that helps increase their gross motor. It helps the social skills with the taking turns. It also helps with disappointment, because a lot of kids want to win and they're learning how to be gracious when they don't.
Sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship.
Something that we all can, I just came from a sub-state tournament. I probably could have practiced a little more of what I preached.
So in this far left one, we have children during Christmas time. They had a wooden Christmas tree and they had to hammer in pins, helping with the strength in their hands. And then writing table, which is available all the time during centers. This one, we focused on cookies that week, so we brought in cookies. Each kid was able to get a cookie, and they used toothpicks to pick out each chocolate chip. Helps with their pinch, helps with their fine motor strength. And then here we have kids correctly holding a book or presenting it in front of them, turning the pages correctly. For communication skills, listens to stories read to him or her, able to answer, able to ask and answer simple questions, listens and follows directions, recognizes and can say nursery rhymes and songs, pretends to write, and tells how to solve a simple problem.
Okay, what that one and this one are doing, I took water and froze it in glasses and then presented them with a problem. I said, what would be the fastest way to get this to melt? Each group was able to come up with their own way of doing it, and then we timed how fast it would melt. Both classes came up with providing some type of heat source. They wanted to use a blow dryer, but I don't keep those at the school, but they used the furnace vent. And water, they said pour water on it, and the other one said salt. So we practiced all of it, we compared, and they all worked together to figure out how it was gonna come out. The water actually was the fastest, but the heat was second. But they do work very well in groups, and I switch up the groups all the time. This paper in the middle is just an example of what one child in my class has been doing for quite some time, writing and drawing, and she's even got numbers. And then we crashed the farm day. It was really cool. Thanks for letting us crash
thank
it.
you.
The kids enjoyed it.
We had some kids who were really absorbing what they were being told. We had a kid who was asking we were told to ask the most questions about this.
About the auger.
The auger, yes. So, some of the academic skills: recognizes and names numbers 0 to 10, recognizes some letters of the alphabet and their sounds, recognizes and writes first name, sorts objects by color, size, and shape, understands concepts such as more or less, big or small, over and under, recognizes the differences between words and pictures. So again, we have the picture of the writing of the name. That's just one example we took a picture of. She's continuing to work on names. In the 3-year-old, we're working on names, so it's going to continue to go into kindergarten. We have a student in the bottom left working on her alphabet. In the middle, we did another science experiment.
I do one every week. So this one we were studying Arctic animals and how the fat helps protect them from the intense cold. So I put ice water in there, and if you can see the white on that girl's hand, that's Crisco. And we represented the fat with Crisco and then her hand into the water, and they could tell how much warmer the hand with Crisco was compared to the one that isn't. And then over here, I give the kids pictures of buildings and like the Great Wall of China and different structures. And then they take that picture and build from it what they think it would look like using our blocks.
We have some, so one on the left is a 3-year-old starting, this is earlier in the year, starting to understand the difference in the letters and starting to spell, seeing that each letter is its own letter instead of knowing that it's one word. Kid working on puzzles. Again, this gives you a better idea of what Alicia was talking about with the pictures. You can see that it's obviously some kind of architectural bridge, and the kids built from it. And then up here we have number matching with ornaments and 10 frames. We are introducing our preschoolers to 10 frames, and we know that will transition well to kindergarten. And just something we've talked about it a lot, learning through play. We truly believe it. We wouldn't be in this profession if we didn't. So we just thought we'd leave you with a couple quotes. Children learn as they play. Most importantly, in play, children learn how to learn, which is the most important thing. They need to learn how to learn. And then play is the highest form of research.
I think that's all we have.
Do you want questions?
You have a question?
Yeah.
I've got one question. So earlier in the year, the school board approved parents as teachers, which included a home visit. Which the stated goal of the home visit on the stuff that we got was basically, and I'm paraphrasing here, to get parents to give up their Fourth Amendment rights to search and seizure, in order to allow a government evaluator to decide if the government thinks that the child is being well taken care of, so they can stay in the home. We were told that home visits would not be forced, and parents would know that they had an option to not have a home visit. Were we giving parents notice that they did not have to have a home visit, or was it required, or?
It wasn't required, and no one's ever said anything about us not coming. They're very
Okay.
accepting of us.
Okay.
And it's not threatening because we were just in their front yards. We're not
Yeah.
there to decide anything. I have never, in the whole time I've done home visits, and I've done them 21 years, I have never had to make a report or anything off of what I've seen in a home visit.
Okay.
Now, I have had to in what I've seen in the classroom because we're mandated reporters or been told. But no parent has ever said they didn't want it. And if they didn't, sometimes in accommodations, if they were homeless, when I was teaching in Hudge, I'd meet them at McDonald's. Just as long as it's somewhere they feel comfortable.
Okay.
It's important to make them feel comfortable.
That's
the purpose of
That's
it.
the purpose of it,
Okay.
definitely.
Not for us to critique anything.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? It's a great presentation. Thank you. Appreciate you coming over.
Yep.
Mark, it looks like we could be
In line for some
ready for
entertainment.
some entertainment here.
We'll let Jared introduce.
Mr. King, Mr. Riley King is our vocal music instructor. They actually have a virtual concert tonight. They're live streaming a concert while we are having this board meeting. I decided to invite Mr. King to come do a couple songs for you with the Wildcat Singers. They've been working hard all year, and I think you will enjoy what they have to share with you guys. So, Mr. King, it's all you.
Yeah, so these are our Wildcat Singers. They're a little bit smaller this year, but they are a very impressive group. And I wanted to just show you all what they've been working on before our concert tonight. I am hoping at the end of this year, depending on what I think numbers will look like next year, submit a recording of this group to the Kansas Music Educators Association to maybe perform at their annual convention next March. So I wanted to sing a couple songs for you guys. We have two songs that we're going to sing. The first one is titled My Spirit Sang All Day by the composer Gerald Finzi. And I'll introduce the next one before we sing.
My spirit sang all day, oh my joy, nothing my tongue could say, only my joy. My heart and echo caught, oh my joy, and spake, tell me thy thoughts, I doubt thy joy. My eyes can hear around, oh my joy, what beauty hast thou found? Show us thy joy. My jealous ears ruined, oh my joy, music from heaven is set for our joy. She also came and heard, oh my joy, what said she is this word? What is thy joy? What is thy joy? And I replied, oh see, oh my joy, 'tis thee, I cried, 'tis thee, thou art my joy.
And the next selection we will be singing for you is titled The Word Was God by Rosephanie Powell. Surprising how those, I'll just give you your first note. Okay?
In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. In the beginning was the same was in the beginning God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God, and the Word was God. And the same was in the beginning God, as the Word was the same God. And the beginning was God, and the Word was God, was the same as in the beginning God, and the Word was God. All things were made, that have been made, nothing was made, nothing was made, He has not made, He has not made. All things were made, all things were made, that have been made, that have been made.
every year for you guys, and I really appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with your concert tonight.
Thank you very much.
We don't get that every month, Clark.
Special treat.
Pretty nice. Moving on to the consent agenda, number 6. We have several different items included inside of which is, the first of which is the financial report and warrants with Danelle.
Our ending cash for the month of February was $6,104,980.84. Our expenditures for the month was $862,703.09. Payroll, $412,578.05. We had no transfers, so the total warrants for the month was $450,125.04. Checks over $10,000. City of Haven, $13,711.19 utilities. Security Bank of Kansas City, $26,700 custom energy interest. Ben E. Keith, $16,135.69 food service. SGC food service, $11,052 food service. State of Kansas treasurer, $145,050, that was bond interest. Thrasher Foundation, $16,882 foundation repair. Two Trees Technology, $14,280, and that's for Chromebooks.
So the utilities, is that really January's utilities then? Because I expected that to be a lot higher, so next month either one.
We haven't seen what it
The sticker shock
might
will
be.
be. Okay.
Yeah, I keep trying to get the answer and don't have it, so. Yeah, the next bill will be the interesting one.
Does anybody have any questions for Danelle? Second part of the consent agenda are the principal director written reports. They've all been provided for you in your drive. Anybody have any questions for these folks? Okay. We're on to the superintendent report with Clark.
Yeah, first of all, want to remind you, March 29, we have a special board meeting, board development training with KASB. So please put March 29, 6 p.m. on your schedule. I think that's 3 weeks away. We do plan to provide dinner for you that night. So the meeting is scheduled from 6 to 8. And I've told the KASB presenter we are looking for 8 o'clock as our end time, and he has promised that. And I've told him we'll be eating, and he's welcome to come a little early and eat as well. But we'll try to have the meal sitting here ready for you at 5:45. But you're free to eat as we start the meeting at 6 o'clock. So we'll have dinner for you that night. A little bit on teacher recruitment. You see a preschool teacher hire. We've had that open, about to hire that. We're in interview season for ESL teacher and also a counselor at the middle school in Yoder. We have posted a math position for the high school and industrial arts for the high school. I would just say we've taken part in 2 virtual teacher fairs. Numbers are scary low of candidates this year. They're just, that has trended down, and this year is no exception. So the days of lots of choices for a teacher are over. I don't know if it matters what it is right now. Just not going to be a lot of choices. So we will endeavor to find the best possible candidates we have, even if the numbers are few. So that season is upon us. I might also share, didn't know if this was on Bill's plate, dinner auction. We have scheduled it for May 1, the Education Foundation dinner auction. And as always, if you're interested in going, we will provide you and your spouse a ticket on the house. And one last thing on that, if you remember, a year ago, the school board decided to auction off advertising on the football scoreboard. In my estimation, that really doesn't come to renewal until August. So that would be a question, not that we have to decide tonight, but certainly prior to the dinner auction, is how do we want to handle that? If somebody has that advertising space, do we want to give them the chance to renew? Do we want to re-auction again and make that part of the night, the dinner auction? But if you remember, we have 2 spots on our scoreboard that were auctioned off a year ago, and the proceeds went to the foundation event. And lastly, I'll just give you an update on ESSER expenditures. We've kind of made this kind of across the board. So I've met with the administrators and the directors, and I know administrators had it on their late start agenda for their last one. We've put it out for pretty much a large number of staff to consider. This is kind of a different approach in that KSDE will ask us to file a request of how we would plan to spend that money, and then we'll look for an approval back from them, or at least some feedback back from them before we get too carried away with spending it. But it's a little different process than it's been in the past. And if you remember, we have a considerable amount of time to spend this. So we probably have no intentions of having a plan to spend all $497,000 in the near future. So we need to think long-term, because we have until 2023 to spend it all. And those of you that watch the national news, you know there's a big push from the Biden administration to issue some more dollars. Don't have a good feel for what that will be yet, but we expect some sort of announce that in the next couple of weeks, probably. So I don't know how you feel about that. I've got mixed feelings about it, but I guess we don't turn down money. But we want to spend it in the right way, and we want to start with kids. That's what everybody I've met have talked to. Let's talk about recovery of kids and academic growth of our kids, and how do we approach that. And as some of you know, we've even started that process with an after-school program, but we're certainly giving a lot of consideration to what summer school programs might look like, and even after school again next year. So lots of time to spend it, but it's going to be quite a process for us to determine how we spend those funds. That's what I have on my report for tonight.
Any questions for Clark?
Did we sign a contract when we auctioned those last time? Because I remember we had discussed whether or not to make them perpetual or or to give them an option to renew.
Yeah, we didn't do a contract.
Okay.
So I assume that's kind of up to our. If I had to give you a suggestion, I would say it's just a hassle to redesign and rechange. So I would say if somebody wants to maintain their site, what we could do is just say, well, what did they pay last year, and we could offer it to them again. If they said no, then we could turn it into an auction item again, but if they were interested, they could keep it. That's just my thoughts, but obviously if you guys have different, I'm open to that as well.
That auction, I think you're at the State Fairgrounds this year, is that right, for the location?
That's correct.
Okay.
May Day.
Any other questions? On to the minutes from February 8th. They're posted in your drives. Everybody had a chance to look at those, see anything that we should bring up to change.
The only thing I saw was one of the votes didn't have a total next to it. I can't remember which one. Just. And that may have been changed already.
I don't see anything, John. It may have been,
Approved capital improvement project.
yeah,
at YCS.
carried. So, Danelle, do you see that in the approved capital improvement projects, Yoder Charter School? It says carried and the parentheses with nothing inside of it.
Just the 6-0, you mean? That it carried?
They're saying the numbers aren't in there. The number of votes, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I don't
Sorry,
have my-
I meant to call you today and just got busy.
I usually bring my notes from the previous board meeting, but I don't remember that being objected by anybody. Do we
I
want to,
have everything wrote down.
what's that?
I have everything wrote down back in the.
Okay, so if you could get that brought up to speed, that'd be great. Good catch, John. We have a verbal report on curriculum adoption.
Yeah, once again, I'll ask Kara to share our ideas on science is coming this year.
Yes.
And she'll share some of the work she's done and the plans that we would plan to bring it to you next month for.
So in your drive, I put a document, it's called Science Curriculum Adoption. And I kind of just gave you a brief overview of what our adoption process was this year. Looked a little bit different. We didn't get to go see like particular presentations. They had to do everything online and kind of choose from there. But we did meet as a committee several times. They got to pilot a few things and try a few things out. So what they came down to is that they all would be using the same curriculum from the same company. You can see that 6 through 8 is going to have earth science, physical science, and life science. And the quote is there for that, and it includes a 2-hour training for them to get started. 9 through 12, same thing. We've got chemistry, earth science, human anatomy, and biology, and their quote is there too. Altogether, I gave you a quote for the new science curriculum. It's a 6-year license, just like any other curriculum. There's a few changes that could come by next month by the time that you vote, so this is kind of just a quote or a potential of the range that we're looking at. Any questions?
Is this something we have the ability to look at, like the textbooks and such?
You as a board?
Yes.
I believe so.
How would we go about doing that?
I could send you the link that the representative sends to the teachers to get online, and that's how they kind of make their choice. Another thing that we do, it's kind of explained in the process too, is there's rubrics from KSDE. There's a website called edreports.org. So we get on and we do a lot of research, and we do a lot of collaboration and talking about, is this really what's fitting the standards that are coming out? Is this going to follow what we want for our kids? So we really want those teachers also to make that decision, because ultimately they're the ones in the classroom.
Right.
But yes, I can send you a link to that if you would like.
Sweet. And then I noticed physics wasn't on the list. Is that just because we don't have any interest or don't have a teacher?
It is physics. I don't know that it's in their schedule. It's not in their schedule.
Maybe something like the testing in other
Yeah.
classes. Generally, sometimes, many times in our practice, if we go down with kids fill a full hour, the teacher would do nesting, which is really good.
And they all kind of build on one another. So we did make sure, like, our 6th grade teachers are going to be doing more of the earth science. And then it's just gonna kind of build on one another. And they met together as a team to make sure that it would align vertically as well. So that's kind of just how they have it planned. And then when our counselors plan for our high school, that's the interest that we have.
On, when you're going 6 through 8, is that including Yoder too?
Yes.
To make sure that
Yes.
they're all up to speed when they hit high school?
Yes.
Good.
And Caitlin Lay is a 5-6, so she will also be using that 5-6 as well.
Okay, good. Thank you.
She's kind of a different story, but yes, we worked
Good.
her in to make sure that it all matches and they all align.
Because I know that in the past, that has been a little different when some of the other outbuildings use different curriculum.
Right, yes.
And then when they got here to high school, it's like, huh?
And I think that's one thing they focused on as a group too, is we really wanted to align it and make sure that they were all on the same
Good.
page. So we did really try to focus on that this year.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for all your hard work.
Any other questions?
We'll bring that to you in April for approval, so you'll, obviously you can see it ahead of time, but the dollars will be approved in April.
Thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, in the consent agenda, we have resignations. Clark?
Yeah, listed there below in your, well, I added a few as we started there, but just to make sure we cover them all. Cassandra Juarez and Mitzi Dale were both Haven Grade School paras, and they were additional paras that we hired through COVID money for the micro cohorts. They have both resigned, but the truth is without being in micro cohorts, we don't really have a place for them anymore. So we had really planned to only temporarily hire them. Then you see Christina Littlejohn, middle school basketball coach, and who did I add? Ginger Russell, grade school para.
Okay, you've heard everything. You saw that in the minutes, we're looking for a vote to be entered. And then under resignations, you saw the addition of the name tonight. Does anybody have any questions on any one of these items that need to be pulled out of the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the changes that have been stated.
I'll make that motion.
Bill's got a first, and Dustin has a second. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. And we're at 6-0 on that. Pardon me, 7-0. What am I saying? Item number 7 is our action discussion items, and the first one is consider capital outlay project quote. Clark.
Yeah, it's slowly coming up there, but I wanted to go back to this document that we've used to kind of track our approvals and our spending. And so we have 2 potential additions tonight. First one I will, well, I'm going to tell you what, I've got a little handout for you here.
Thank you, Clark.
Thought it'd be good for you to see a little design upgrade, a little design change to Yoder Charter School. If you remember last time, we talked about this front awning. So we have approved all of those things across there except the one that I haven't read from front awning. And we talked a little bit about totally redoing that awning, but we kind of decided to go a less expensive route. But what you're looking at is the red trim being replaced with black trim. Our painter has come out and done some touch up around the windows. So that's a new black. So we kind of have changed our theme to the brick color with black trim. And so But really what you're looking for there is a front awning renovation. And if you remember, I don't even remember which one of you brought it up, the pillars that are out front there, they're not spaced very appealing. And so we've asked this Borsky company, one, they were the one that really gave us the bid to take those poles and brick around them to kind of match the existing brick. But now they've adjusted their bid for us to, and Chris kind of explained it to you in his board report, but it talks about putting a beam all the way across there. I would refer to it almost like a header, like you might have to put a header across a big span in your home. So they're going to put this beam across there. That's going to allow them to rework those brick poles and space them consistently across there. So I'm going to say one of those brick poles is going to get moved out of there, but that made the price go up a little bit. Got a little close to $20,000 and a mandatory bid dollar amount, but it didn't quite get there. So what we're asking you to consider tonight is a renovation to the front awning that includes that brickwork, includes consistent pole spacing across there and new pole spacing, and of course the header and renovation to the front of that awning as well. So that total is $19,838. If you look over there to where it says renovate the exterior of YCS, we had originally thought a budget around 60, and just below that, you said if I add that all together, it comes up to 56,887. I've missed one little piece of this. So Ray Roofing is going to come and rework the flashing and the guttering, and we previously approved that. So we've already met with them and said, can that be black instead of red? And they said, absolutely, that's no problem. We haven't ordered it. But if you remember, on the back side of the building, there was some of that red flashing that was already brand new with the bond. And so that'll have to get painted black to match the rest of it. That's not included in here, but we've kind of got an approximate bid of $600 to do that. So that's not part of this, but what we're asking tonight is to approve the awning renovation for $19,838, and that brings us up to $56,867 for Gilder Charter School. Any questions on that before I jump over to the HVAC units? What do you think of the color?
Like it.
Better in the red? I thought
think
so. Second part of that is, as you can see, we did 2 HVAC unit replacements. Ken brought this up to me because he's right. When you go look at the document, it shows 5 stars bid for $16,600 if we select the York model HVAC units. It really only mentions in the bid the office one. But Ken, while I was sitting here, I did get a hold of the 5-star representative, and he said, no, that is for both units. So some of you might say, why the big spread? And the only thing I'd say, BCS quoted a more expensive unit, knowing that they could quote something less. So they have a unit they like to quote, and they stuck with it, and obviously for their 2, it's considerably more, double the price. So what we're asking for, and you might ask about the York unit as opposed to, I'm trying to remember the name of the other type of unit. Ring. And Chris says, well, it is a little less expensive unit, but we have several other York units on that roof already that we're using. He said they're fine. They're running just fine. So he was confident with that York unit. So those are the two bids that we bring you tonight for two more projects to be completed.
So with the less cost, could we go ahead and do the third one? Like, and, because weren't there 3 that needed to be replaced?
There's actually more than 3. I mean, if we got particular, if you remember last time I showed you a whole list, we have several others that are even older than these. But if you remember, we were only going to do one. We had one in the library that wasn't functioning, so we tried to add it in, and that really gave us a better price because they said if we can do 2 of them at the same time. So the only thing that would make me a little uptight about those is we're starting to run into how much we can spend out of capital outlay in a given year. And that auditorium project is hanging over our heads a little bit as a number we don't quite know yet. So I would want to put that on hold of doing any more at this point.
Is there any difference in efficiency on the units? I mean, as far as their ratings?
Is that in Chris's report?
I don't remember seeing it.
Chris asked if he could be gone tonight, and I threatened him that he'd better have all these questions answered on the units. But I know this, I did question the York versus the Ream, and he was confident and felt good about the York units because he said we do have some others that are in that category.
Looks like they have comparable warranties, and in fact the Ream has a little better on it's got a lifetime gas heat exchanger with registration as opposed to 20-year with the Ream.
The York is better?
Yeah, it's lifetime versus 20 years on the heat exchanger, whatever that is.
Well, if you remember, that was one of our problems, is the heat exchanger had gone out in the library one. And John, I think that was the third one you were talking about. We changed the heat exchanger.
Yeah, I remember there were 3 we were talking about.
And they said, well, it'll buy you a few years by changing that. And it's running currently.
I don't see where it says about the efficiency rating, but
I didn't see any efficiency.
but even if that one from, who was it, that's twice as high, that it better make the energy.
Questions, comments? So I think you're asking us 2 different items here, the spending for the 19838 at Yoder Charter School with the awning,
That'll renovate the awning.
renovate the awnings, and
It'll
then
make all the trim around it black instead of red. New poles and new brick around the front awning area.
and then the lower bid, 5-star mechanical, and that would have to be with the Ream option, I believe, or
That's,
That-
the lower bed's the York
York.
option.
I'm sorry, yes. So,
Before we approve that, can we go and have them write on their bid that that's for 2 units? Because it doesn't say 2 units on there. The other bid does, this one doesn't.
It does make reference to 2 units where they say the kitchen.
I thought it did 2 reference, both of them in there for 1 point.
It says, the York unit for the library has the following warranty. Maybe.
It's not clear at all.
And then right down below it says the York unit for the office. I mean, I'm sure they'll put it on there.
so is there any desire to break these up, take them on separately, or do we want to group these 2 projects together?
I just don't feel comfortable approving the AC unit and not knowing for sure that
He
that's.
just made a call tonight, right?
I emailed our guy and he says, yes, that is for 2 units. But you're right, it could be more clearer on the list. If you wanna, I don't know their timeline yet on doing this, but,
Well, could we approve just the $16,000 for 2 units?
I was gonna say, that's, in my thought, let's approve 16.6.
For 2 years.
And if it's not 2 units,
Then we gotta come back.
Okay, I can go along with something like
We'd have
that, but
to
if,
come-
I just don't want to be caught as a board all of a sudden. We're having to go and approve all of a sudden another 16 grand for the second unit.
So are you okay with passage of that, voting on that tonight, Ken, with a stipulation that we'll get that
Yes,
person in
I'm
there?
comfortable with that.
He's a local person, we know him,
Oh,
so.
okay, well, I don't know this 5 stars,
Okay.
so.
In fact, he's the husband of a former board member, so I feel confident that he's given us a good bid here, he knows.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that, it's just
No,
that
that's good.
I
That's
don't
fine.
know him, so I'm
That's
asking.
perfectly great. So, they're both listed here under item number 1, so I'm just going to present them to you as a package bid here. The 19,838 for the approval or the improvements to the awning over at Yoder Charter School, and then approving the lower bid from 5 Star Mechanical for the units at the grade school. And we'll get them to put into here that it is indeed 2 units with the York option, so that we have that complete understanding.
and let's have Danelle put the 16,600 in the minutes as well. So we know what we've approved, the dollar amount.
Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion?
I will.
Bill's got a first, Ken's got a second. We have, let's, all in favor, raise your right hand. We're 7-0 on that. All right. We have 2 executive sessions, and we're going to break these up like we always do. The first one is going to be dealing with employer negotiations, and it's going to involve the board and Clark. I move the board recess to executive session to discuss issues related to the teacher's contract under the exception of employer negotiations under KOMA. The open meeting shall resume. Clerk says he needs 15 minutes. I show 7 o'clock, so we'll say 7:15. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Ken's got that. All in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0 on that. extend this session by 10 minutes. It's under the employee-employer negotiations under K1A. Again, extending for 10 minutes. It's 7:16, so 7:26. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Bill's got the second. All in favor, so it is, we got 5 of us, 5 minutes. members pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA. The meeting is going to include the board, Clark, and Laurel. And he says 10 minutes, let's go 15. Let's just make it 7:45. That's the motion. Do I have a second? Second by Ken, all in favor? 6-5. We're back in public session. Down to item number 3, which is consider internet provider contract. Clark.
Yeah, I'll let Ken Lacoste, we gave you a little update on it last month, said that was coming, and so now the project has been bid for our internet and local area network providers. And Ken has the results of how that scored.
I've got some handouts for everybody. This will explain the scoring that we used. We only had 2 bidders that can meet the requirements of our request for proposal. And so these are reflective of the 2 that did that. And as you can see from our scoring, this doesn't reflect the prices. What this reflects is us getting the bid proposals and then scoring those bid proposals to bring our recommendation, of course, to you guys on the ones that we think we would like to see the school district go with. The 2 that were bid was Zayo and Ideal Tech. Zayo is our current service provider. And I will say that both actually came in less money than what we had originally been paying on the contract. So they were both lower. Ideal Tech, though, actually was considerably lower with the service that we currently have. So that would be 1G internet access, 1G WAN access. And the way that we scored these, as you can see by the different categories here, each one of these from total cost down to the bottom have a certain amount of points scoring on it. And both of them scored perfect on everything except the pricing. And Ideal Tech's pricing came in considerably less than what Zayo is. So not only are we saving money over what we had been paying on internet access, but we're going to save a considerable amount if we decide to go with the Ideal Tech solution versus the Zayo solution. So as you can see, the way that it broke out is the total scoring points is 100, and based on the total cost points that were available, Zayo lost some points there, and it brought the total in at 100 points for Ideal Tech and 96 points for Zayo. And so the recommendation by the technology committee is to go with the Ideal Tech solution as our internet service provider.
For the next 3 years.
For the next 3 years.
3-year contract.
This will be a 3-year contract. I did ask for 3 and 5 years. Zayo did not offer a 5-year contract. Ideal Tech did. But there really wasn't that much more of a significant savings to go with an extended year contract, and we just kind of thought, for interest of competition in the future, keep it as short as what they can possibly go. You know, so what we did is we scored both on their 3-year contract offering.
What was the price for Idea Tech?
Actually, it's broke out in 2 different categories, and it's a reoccurring monthly charge. So the Ideal Tech solution that we'll go with or the Ideal Tech solution would be $12.50 per month for internet access, and it was, God, I'd have to look now.
Somewhere in the 2,500 range, because it was close to 4,000.
Right, it was actually less than what Zayo's. Zayo's was at the 2,500, so I'm thinking that the Ideal Tech was about 2,100, somewhere right in there. And that is for all locations. So that would be 1G from the high school to the grade school, 1G from the high school to Yoder, 1G from the high school to the district office, and then 1G to the middle school.
You had mentioned higher capacity last time, if I remember correctly.
What we did is we priced it out. I asked for increments from 1 to 10G on both the WAN and the internet side of it. And Zayo offered everything by 1G through the 10. Ideal Tech on the WAN side only offered 1, 5, and 10. for the win, and then they offered 1, 2, 5, and 10 on the internet. So they had a little bit different offering, but each one of those were different categories, and I didn't include any of the prices on these because it's a long list because of the way I asked for the pricing, so.
So at the higher speeds, is it a, is Idea Tech still saving us money, or?
At the,
I'm
it
just
depends.
curious just because of
It
how
depends.
fast everything's
About
expanding.
mid-range, they stay pretty close, and then when you get to about the 10G range, it starts to flip the other way. Zayo starts to save money on the 10G side of it. From about, what was it, from about 5 to 10? I think it started to close the gap on the price range, and then it flipped, so. But the thing of it is, and this was part of the technology committee's findings too. We have to update, if we go above 1G, we have to upgrade every switch that we have in the district to embrace that 1+G speed. So basically, like, even if we was gonna go 2G, we'd have to have a 10G interface, because you can go back, but you can't incrementally go forward. And so, even though we're going to be developing Category 2 funds over the next several years that would allow us to do those switches, we would like to have those in place prior to any increase, you know. But looking at the past history of our internet usage and our WAN, we haven't even come close to hitting half the pipe yet on either, so. But I restrict, you know, quite a bit of the streaming and stuff, you know, that would use up a lot of that bandwidth.
And do you think prices in the future will go up or down? Because I'm thinking maybe a 5-year would be better, because in my thoughts, these prices are probably going to go up, but I don't know.
You mean for yearly contract?
Right.
Well, how long have we been with Zayo, do you think? It's probably,
All the years I've been here, I'm in year 6.
yeah, and I think it's probably been maybe about 1 or 2 years prior to Clark. And in that time, it's only went down. You know, I mean, this went down significantly. But a lot of that depends on the funding. You know, we've had an exceptional amount of, you know, federal injection into internet services and stuff, and I think that realigned a lot of vendors on their bidding, because over the past 5 years, we have always tried to meet a Kansas standard of so many megabits per student, you know, in concurrent usage. And we've exceeded that in bandwidth and in internet capacity, but we have been behind the 8 ball on price. So we've actually been paying over the last 5 years considerably more for the same internet access as what our counterparts, you know, around the area have. So I think there was some alignment, you know, this time around, but what it's gonna do from here forward, I don't know. But the bigger question is, what solution will be available at that time, you know, that we run out of that contract, because we may not want to stay with the medium that we've got. The largest part of it depends on, you know, need. You know, if we keep downsizing, or if we, you know, increase on what we, you know, need for bandwidth. So. But, you know, if Zayo would have done a 5-year contract, we would have certainly considered, you know, 5 years, 5 years. So.
Any other questions for Ken?
I'll make up the answers if I don't know them. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Ken.
Thank you. So you've heard the information. It sounds like Idea Tech has the lower bid, and I put a lot of trust in Ken and his team on a lot of matters in technology that's above me, but he's got a committee that's made this recommendation. I would entertain a motion to accept the 3-year contract with the low bidder here, that being Idea Tech.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion here, got a second with Dustin. All in favor, raise your right hand. We're 7-0 on that. Item number 4, Clark, is consideration of additional snow days for classified.
So to bring you up to date, for those of you who weren't involved when we approved our classified handbook, our classified handbook identifies how we handle our hourly employees on days that we cancel school. So every once in a while, Margie cancels school because of or maybe that's me that cancels school, but so as you know, we've canceled school a few times this year. Our current policy allows for our classified, our hourly employees, for 2 of those days to use sick leave days. If they have sick leave days available, they can use those for snow days and still get paid. So obviously, this concern is about our hourly employees, because in many cases when we cancel school, they might not get paid. So what I'm proposing tonight, I'm not proposing to change our current policy, but for this year, I'm asking for 2 additional days. So that would mean this year 4 days. If they have 4 sick days, they can apply those for snow days and still get paid.
And we did that last year, didn't we?
Well, we adopted, I think, the 2 days last year.
Okay.
And I'm not ready to change it, just because you never know. As I told Bryce the other day, let's just kind of play it a year at a time and see how many days we get in a given year. Who knows, we might not be done this year, but I'm still proposing 4 and ended at that for this year.
Is there a reason we limit it? I guess.
No,
It's not costing us any extra money if they do, does it?
Yeah, I think you're right. We have it in the budget. We assume we're working all those days. We don't get cut money for it. So I think John brings up a good point, and somebody else has too. Why would we ever limit it? And I guess I've always liked the idea of allowing them to use sick days, because I'm not looking for someone who misses all of the time to reap the benefits of getting paid for snow days. That's kind of my thought process is, if they have the sick days, which I would say, I haven't checked, but the vast majority do, then it's a way that they can recoup some of that money.
Yeah, no, I wasn't talking about like why would we limit the number of sick days they can use towards snow days? Was my question, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's, could be considered as well. This proposal would give them 2 more days
Right.
than what they currently have.
Okay, Clark has recommended approval of 2 additional approved days, leave days to cover snow days. Is there a motion here somewhere? John? Do I have a second? Bill, all in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0 on that. Item number 5 is consider auditorium seats.
So if you remember last month, sorry to jump the gun on you there, I just jumped right in there. If you remember last month when we were doing our interviews, the concept of lead time for seats came up. And so we're trying to meet that lead time. So in your drive, let me get to my drive. There it is. In your drive, you have a document that says auditorium seat bids. So the process of replacing the seats, at least of purchasing the seats, has already been bid. And it's been through a process. There's a service center out in eastern Kansas that bids all kinds of things ahead of time, much similar to what KSDE does with transportation and buses and things like that, but they do that with seats. So we already have a low bidder that's been established in the state of Kansas. In this case, it's Kansas Contract Design out of Wichita. So it was simple enough for our architect to go to them and say, here's our project at Haven. What's your low bid for this product? Bottom line is why you're being asked to do it tonight. The lead time on these is huge. Matter of fact, if we approve it tonight, they're shooting for July to have them in. So you can see I'm hoping a lot of the auditorium is completed by then, but it just takes that order quite a while to get processed. So this is really outside the scope of a guaranteed maximum price by our construction manager that we approved last month. But I have sent him this bid so he can keep track and make sure that dollar amount gets placed into his agreement with us as well, which will allow us to track the budget for that auditorium much better. But we do need to get this process started of getting these ordered. And so, as you can see, this runs about $80,000, $79,197 for all new seats. As you see, it does include a few portable ones and a cart for them to be on. So if we wanted to put another row up front, let's say we didn't have any handicapped seat needs, we could go ahead and put some of those portable chairs in that front row area and maximize our seating capacity.
My question is, how does 40 more seats fit in there?
What I do know is we've had this company out, and they have measured our auditorium, and they have what we told them, we want to maximize the number of seats. But yeah, I went through this process in my previous district, and nowadays when you put seats in, they put different sizes in there.
Smaller?
So there's 19s and 20s and 21s and 22s. So I'm going to suspect there's going to be a few that'll be smaller than what we currently have.
Are they all going to be a small size?
No, they assort them.
Okay. Some of the younger high school kids can fit in them, but some of you have concerts in there. Make sure they're comfortable.
As you guys know, if you've been to a concert, we have lots of times where we could use some more seats. There's nowhere to go. You can't expand, so it's a matter of potentially putting them even another row up front.
Colors all fit in with what we're looking at.
Yeah, good question. He asked about colors. We got a group of people together last week of our directors that were here tonight. We even got a couple of ladies because we were male dominated in there. And it was amazing how quickly we agreed on a color and pattern. They'll be dark, they'll be kind of a black tweed looking things. Nothing is a solid color anymore. So even there goes Riley. Even Riley agreed with us on the seat colors. But yeah, they had about 10 choices for us, but most of them in the gray, black color range.
And they'll be easy for our people to clean.
Yeah, the architect said we considered yellow, but we were really concerned about, one, how that might look, and two, how it might show. They're dark. Did you call them tweed?
The seats.
Seats.
I don't know if I quite say tweedy, but leaning that direction.
It reminded me of my tweed jacket I used to have. I don't know. We came to consensus.
Any further questions of Clark? Anybody in business here at this table tonight? Whenever you go to order something, you can learn quickly about the delays and the lead times. Ports are backed up with shipping. I think the analysts that I follow and so forth, as the economy ramps back up and retail picks back up, supply is their biggest problem, being able to get supplies, and consequently it's probably going to drive up prices. So I think the quicker we can get these to be able to meet our deadline, first of all, is going to be better for us. So I would entertain a motion to approve this quote for $79,179 for the seating of our auditorium. Justin's got a first on that. Do I have a second? I'll second that motion. All in favor, raise your right hand. And it passes unanimously, 7-0. Item number 6, consideration of director renewals.
Yeah, you see those listed down at the bottom of your agenda. So that's our food service director, maintenance director, technology director, transportation director, and business manager. I've completed evaluations on each of those, and at this point I'm recommending them to be rehired again for another year contract.
So I would entertain a motion for the renewal of the directors for the 2020-21-22 contract with the salaries to be determined later. Got a first with Ken, got a second by Bill. All in favor, 7-0 on that. Item number 7, approval of contracts, work agreements.
Those are also listed below. I'll remind you of the additions that we added. We've already done resignations, but under contracts, we added a new preschool teacher for our 4-year-olds, Teresa Scholl. And then we had a work agreement for Matthew Behrman. And Matthew is, you see, he's being hired as a temp taker, but we're hoping to quickly ramp him up to become a new driver as well, if we can get him licensed in that way.
I would entertain a motion to approve the contract/work agreements. Bill, do we have a second? Jessica, I don't think you've made a motion or seconded or anything tonight, so we'll give that to you. All in favor, raise your right hand. We're 7-0 on that. On to our reports. Ken, do you have an RCEC report for us?
I think there's
Pardon me, what happened?
We added number 8.
Oh, pardon me, John. It's the gating discussion. Floor is yours.
Hi. Well, last week Jessica asked about when we would get back to normal, and I'm not sure how many of you guys are following what's going on at the county level, but if I am not mistaken, there's still they let the current emergency health order expire, and there has not been one issued since. So since there's not a countywide emergency order in place, I thought this would be a great time to look at potentially lifting the gating requirements and even the mask mandate. I know the county is looking at potentially the mask mandate tomorrow at the commission meeting, and several of our surrounding states, including Oklahoma, Missouri, Nebraska, have lifted their mask mandates entirely. COVID cases are way down in our area, and so I think it's time to get back to normal. And another thing to consider too is the current education bill, which is in committee again in the state legislature, reduces funding to remote learning level, or for remote learning, to the same as the Haven Virtual Academy. So we would be losing about $10,000 per student if that passes, if we do go virtual again. And I don't think anybody here unit wants that. And so, yeah, I just think it's time. I'm not gonna make the motion, but if anybody else wants to make the motion, I'll second it.
Why would you not make the motion?
Because I've made it enough times. And if there's no consensus, then it's,
Okay.
I would say I don't have a problem with necessarily leaving our gating criteria in place. But I would be in favor, I know there's a lot of lifting of mask mandates, and I'm not sure we can make a decision on this tonight, but I don't know that keeping masks in place for ever and ever is, I mean, if people want to wear them, I think that's one thing, but like, I think we do need to, at some point, consider discussion of not having that as a requirement. I think it's hard on our teachers having to enforce that. I don't like wearing one. It gives me a really bad headache. I can't, it's hard for me to breathe. It makes me have pimples all over my face, whatever. And I don't know, I can't hardly sit for an extended period of time. I can't imagine making little kids do it too. And I know we've, kind of had some times when maybe that was necessary, but I think it's time to at least consider some discussion around opening that up a little bit, for discussion at least. We've got people being vaccinated, and I think that helps a lot. So I don't have a motion related to your topic here tonight, John, but I think we should open this for discussion at some point if other board members are in agreement. Kind of talking about two separate topics, so.
We're basically following county guidelines right now, right?
Yeah, I'll weigh in on this a little bit. So currently, the governor has a mask mandate, and then each county could determine whether they overruled it or not. Reno County has not overruled it yet. It is on their agenda tomorrow.
well, and the school boards are also separate as well. Each school board can overrule it as well.
Yeah, school boards can determine that themselves as well. We, as Reno County superintendents, were sent and I think the commissioners sent out a survey on it. I don't know the results of it. I assume that might be what they're going over tomorrow. I guess I would just share, I agree that I think this is coming. I don't know that we ought to be the first ones that jump into that. I received this today, and an area superintendent just put it out across the superintendent's listserv just to see what the present practice was, so everybody could weigh in. And I think there was 157 school districts that weighed in. 119 are requiring K-12 masks currently, and 38 are something less than that. So it varies what it is, but something less. Some of them we recommend it, some of them it's not K-12, so something less. So I do continue to hear thoughts, and I know that the Reno County Commissioners, I guess in my mind, let's let the process play out. Let's see what happens at Reno County first at the Commissioners meeting. I know they're getting all kinds of feedback on this. I don't know which way they'll go. I don't know if they know which way they'll go, but there's three of them. I guess they're going to vote one direction. But I can tell you the feedback that the Reno County Soups have kind of embraced is maybe there's a way to transition into this over time. And one of the ideas I threw out when I filled out the survey is, maybe we start with maybe not requiring masks out of doors, and maybe that's the first step. I don't have all the answers other than to say I think there's a process that's going to happen through the county. I think once that happens, then it ought to come back to the school board, and I think you're going to see some natural movement as counties rescind it. It's going to go back to school boards at that point.
Yeah, and I will say too that we are currently not. If I'm unless there's been something that I've missed. We are currently not under an emergency health order in Reno County anymore.
But we are under a mask mandate.
Right, so that's a statewide one, yes. Which, you know, we're a little bit different than Kansas City and Wichita and Salina.
We have a special meeting, can we put that on the agenda for that special meeting?
We can, as long as we publish it ahead of time.
That might be.
I don't necessarily like that because
Yeah.
we just promised you a 2-hour meeting.
But that would get them another couple weeks instead of waiting a full month. Then we'd know, I mean, if the county doesn't pass it, then it probably wouldn't be much discussion, but if the county does, we could maybe move forward at that time.
Well, I mean, and we could also or make a motion to follow the county, or follow what the county does too. So, you know, if and when they do remove it, then.
Let the gating committee make the decision if the county opens it up.
And I don't want to go without saying this because, and I know I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. We happen to have a group of employees that will be concerned when this occurs. I just know that because I hear from them.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, we're not saying they can't wear a mask though. I mean, if they want to wear them.
Yeah, the mandate would be lifted to where we have to enforce it.
Yeah, but I think we're right. I mean, as a school board, we could have said all along, we're not going to follow this.
Yeah, and there are several school boards that don't and never did, including one here in Reno County, so.
Partially.
Partially, yeah.
Well, I hear what both Jessica and John are saying, and I would agree that I think it's getting to the point where we need to look at the issue again. I would probably say let's wait until the county meets, and if they say, oh, it's over, then I think then, like Bill suggested, maybe even at that March 29th, just for a brief discussion there and do something like that. But I think it's high time we move on.
Okay, so I'm kind of hearing what Ken is suggesting here, waiting until the county moves, and then we'll maybe either talk about it the 29th perhaps, or maybe even do something, I don't know, virtually, I suppose, if needed be. But right now, I think we've left everything, and the gating committee each week, we see the numbers coming down, and we know that this is something that we're going to have to face. So, are we still?
I'd say we'd probably better do it in an open meeting versus virtually. If there's any concerns, people could show up.
Okay, but until we do meet in open meeting, whenever that might be, are we still relying on the gating committee for that leadership?
You mean for removing the mask mandate?
Right.
I guess we could do, if that's the case, we could vote on it tonight.
Yeah, I don't know that the gating, because it kind of goes back to our back-to-school plan. The mask mandate is in our back-to-school plan, so I think that would take a board decision to rescind that. I'm going to go ahead and speak to it. In my world, our best deal would be to put it on the April board agenda. The March 29th special board meeting, not that we can't add it. But I'm just thinking of the dynamics of that. So we're going to have a board training. We're going to have somebody come in that's going to engage us in conversation that's really meant to be educational in nature. And at the end of that, then we're going to jump into an agenda item that feels a little awkward to me.
Yeah, we've devoted that time for that training, and I would hate to make that a longer meeting or anything. I don't know if we can have a brief discussion, but
And the April board meeting is 2 weeks after that.
Right.
too.
We do have a week of spring break coming where
We do.
everybody gets a
Well,
week
no,
off.
I don't know that anybody's gonna be wearing a mask.
No, I don't think so.
Well, 8 o'clock end time or an 8:07 end time, really not a whole lot of difference, but
That's just my thought, but
Yeah.
obviously we'll do what you
I
guys.
just think it could be longer than that if people show up because they are against it, and I don't know.
Yeah, if you're gonna open it up for input, I'll be the first to say, when I was thinking about the special board meeting, I'm telling these folks they don't have to be here. That means I wasn't planning on streaming it. That complicates it a little bit from input standpoint or verbally hearing it, because the only way to hear it then is to be there. And typically in a special board meeting, we haven't had citizens open forum time either, not that we can't. It is just telling you the dynamics of a special board meeting haven't been that.
Well, I would think if the county lifts the mask restriction tomorrow, you said the reading? My guess is that a lot of us would want to get back together before the 29th or whatever. I mean,
And of course, that's another option, is the board could, a group of you could get together and say, let's have a special board meeting.
or we can vote to lift the mask mandate when the county does tonight, and then when they do, it would automatically lift it, if you guys are okay with that. Based on our conversation, that's a motion I'm comfortable making. I don't know if I'll get a second or not, but I'll make a motion that we lift the mask mandate for USD 312 when the county does.
The only problem I have with that is we haven't given any opportunity for people to oppose it.
Yeah, but we haven't when we imposed it either.
Well, this is an open gating criteria. So,
is that your motion, John?
That's my motion, yes,
All
sir.
right. The motion is there. Is there a second?
I don't disagree, but I think that we need to have a little more discussion about it.
yeah, I'm ready to get rid of it. That's not quite time.
Is that a second?
I think no matter when we make the decision, it's gonna be like when we made the decision to have the mask, there's gonna be people upset, and there's
Yep.
gonna be people happy, and it's not gonna make everybody happy, but
I think it seems like we've learned that, is every
Yeah.
time we make a change,
there's
it's tough.
a
It's just
section in the
difficult.
middle that's okay with either way, and then you got the two ends, somebody's gonna be upset either way, no matter what we do, so. But it probably would be better to have at least
I'd
a little
feel
more
better
public.
after the county decides.
I mean, we may not have anybody show up,
Right.
but, which would be great, I guess.
That
but-
would be great.
but-
Okay, seeing that there's not a second, John, I guess that's, that motion's gonna die. I agree with you. We should, we're gonna have to get off the mass at some point in time, but I agree with that we should probably, spend more time and be able to have that discussion. Now we're on to reports. Ken, do you have an RCEC report?
We met a week ago. We did the last of our update on board policy. And now they're going to be working at implementing all of that and bring it to us either at the next meeting or the following for us to totally ratify with all the changes. We also discussed it, trying to get a study on salary for our employees, especially the paras that are non-licensed. Trying to bring that up, but we're looking at what that would cost to bring that up to where we're competitive with the districts around us. That's been a great concern because just like it just seems like that's a revolving door. And we're not the only district or co-op that's having that problem, is to retain good employees. So we're trying to look at that, see once. Also, we're planning on sending out the letter for negotiations with that list, that we went over some of that in executive session, so that should be going out here before long. I think that's about all the extent of what we discussed. We did, I'll say this, we did hire 2 new educators, one for, I forget now which high school they went to. One's going to one high school and the other one is at the Early Ed Center, a new teacher there. I had to step out of that one because I knew that person personally. So that was approved.
Okay, any questions for Ken? Thank you as always for your representation on that board, Ken. Our second report is Transportation Director Report. Clark?
And here comes Margie creeping in here, and it's time to start thinking about vehicle rotations. So I've asked her to give you a little update, and we won't take any action tonight, but we hope to a month from now.
Okay. So in my monthly report, I had listed that we have 18 big buses, 11 on route, 4 spares, and 3 activity buses. We've also got 7 minibuses, 4 maintenance vehicles, and 14 other small vehicles, vans, a couple of Suburbans, 5 cars, and the FFA pickup truck. Anyway, I placed in your drive today a spreadsheet I shared with you that lists all of these vehicles, what they're used for, and when we need to replace them. School buses can only be on the road for 25 years. So I have the dates there that they need to be off the road by, but also then a projected schedule of when I'd like to see them rotated out. For this year, I don't see any reason to get rid of any big buses. We're sitting pretty good. I also don't see any reason to purchase any big buses. We're looking good there. We have had an increase of minibus use. I think it's just a variety of things that have happened with COVID and difference in transportation. So that's something that I'd want to look at next, or purchasing, is maybe some minibuses. We have one Suburban, M38 it's called. It is a 2002. It has 220,000 miles on it, and it is time that it be retired. So that's something that I would look at, is selling it this summer and replacing it with a 7 to 10 passenger van, probably something that we already have, and then purchase something new to replace it. That vehicle is used here at the high school for special needs students being transported from school to school, being transported to Hutch or South Hutch or into Wichita for various programs. So that would be the only thing that I would see getting rid of. Which one did you say it was, sorry? M38. Oh, sorry. Okay.
You're good.
Yeah.
We bought that used in 2008, just over $12,000. It came with 57,000 on it already.
Gold in color.
Bronze.
Bronze, excuse me. You see it running around town.
Depends on the sun.
Time to time.
Questions? Thoughts?
I noticed that in your report here,
Yes.
you're missing a lot of them that don't have the miles on them. Was that just because you couldn't get them, or?
Just a matter of time, yes.
Okay. And I'm just wondering, just out of curiosity, you got M40 that has almost 300,000.
Yes.
Are we considering getting rid of that one right soon here, or?
I'd like to, my first thought was to get rid of both M40 and 41. They're the same, they're identical minibuses. I'd like to hang on to them because they're both running.
fine. I hate the idea of I'd like to purchase 2 minibuses this summer. Okay, so just add the 2 minibuses and see if we can make M40 last a little bit longer. Maybe just use it as a spare, as a backup bus. The difference in price when we go to sell it is not gonna make any difference from 270 to 300,000. It's,
They're not
you know
gonna
how
buy
bus
much.
sales, exactly. We're not gonna get a lot out of it anyway, so why not hang on to it as a spare? And that's my thinking process.
Scares me a little bit with that many miles on it, on a bus, especially a 1-ton chassis.
Yeah.
But still,
Have we ever looked at just leasing these vehicles? Instead of owning all this?
It's been looked at. I have never looked at it.
It's just a question, I don't know. I mean, you know, it's just like over the winter here, you had some gel up on you and
Yes.
stuff. I mean, I don't know, why do we have to own them?
Well, I don't know that leasing them is gonna make any difference in the gelling.
No, but who's our fuel provider on that?
MKC. And we use an additive. I think these extreme temperatures is what caught us, that 1 week.
Do we run a winter blend in that stuff at all?
It's supposed to have a winter blend, but yes, like I said, we do an additional additive just to make sure our buses are gonna run.
we're running red diesel, right?
Yes, we are.
Which is farm diesel, which
Yes.
I'm not quite sure has quite the blend that
Yeah.
road diesel does. Because road diesel is,
I run
I
a
agree
winter
with
blend and
You what?
I run a winter blend and I haven't gelled one up in 35 years.
Yeah,
And I run them every day when it was 15 below too, so.
yeah. Well, I just know that I've never had any trouble running regular road.
I don't know, it's just,
Well, I wouldn't say we've ever really seriously looked into the leasing, but we could do some asking around.
Yeah, I don't know that it may not work, but.
But you gotta remember when we lease them, that company's gonna make a profit one way or
Sure they
another.
are.
Where we're doing it at cost, not at profit.
No, I get it. Like I said, it may not work, but you don't have the maintenance either on them. But, you know,
Well, they're gonna have the payments and we're gonna be paying for those payments, plus a commission. on it.
I'm not saying it's gonna work. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I think it's worth looking into.
I mean, I don't know why we wouldn't ask the question.
yeah. Well, I just know that some of the other districts around have checked into it, and it's not,
Might not be feasible.
it's not cost effective.
And then you're committed to, I mean, they're gonna be cycled out, and then there's gonna be either a big buyout on it, or,
Right. Well, we budget so much for them anyway.
yeah.
One of my questions is how do we get there?
Right, and that's, I agree.
Sitting on 30 vehicles, and that transition period could be quite a lengthy amount of time. I'll ask around a little bit and see how it's working for people.
I just, you route
Excuse
buses.
me, Margie will ask around a little bit and see how it's working for people.
If you could transition into a lease deal or, I get we don't pay taxes and all that stuff on them, but still, there's points where leases are not a bad option, but this may not be one of them.
I like what you
I'm
did
not
on
so
that,
sure the
breaking
maintenance
it
would be
down.
included in that, on that unless it's just under warranty.
It's another one of those things you added in or you do not. I mean, it's, the more they do, the more they charge.
Mm-hmm. Pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah. That's why I say it may not even be a feasible option at all.
Okay, so it sounds like you're going to be back in April as an action item with
Yes.
some numbers for us, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Marge.
Item number 3, board member reports, a chance for any board member to speak out on maybe any issue that we've perhaps discuss tonight or something you'd like to bring up on your own? Let's start over here with Bill.
As Clark mentioned, we're having the foundation auction on May 1st at a new place at the fairgrounds. And we'll be starting up the clay target team this year. Last year we had kids signed up and had to refund all their money because of COVID, but so we're kind of starting over. Our numbers are going to be down a little bit. It looks like we're going to have 17 that signed up, and today was tonight at midnight's our time to deadline. So we'll be, and that's about where we started a few years ago. So we sort of maintained, but and we're having a new guy help us out this year, Jeff Case, and very, very highly qualified, and I'm excited to have him help us out.
Bill, is that open to freshmen through senior?
Yeah,
Okay.
freshmen
Curious,
through senior, to high school only.
Yeah.
The league allows us to go younger, but we just didn't feel comfortable for time and space. I guess that's all I have.
You've probably received some emails from KASB talking about House Bill 2119. If you haven't taken a look at that, I would recommend that you go to their website and take a look at that bill and what's inside of it. They're against 2119. It has to do with using public funds for private education. It also takes away some control at the local level from school boards, but I'm not going to tell you, which way to lean, but it's all in KASB's website. And again, it's House Bill 2119. Jessica, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the administrators and staff and whoever else has been involved in, I know there was a bonfire and some other things, some upcoming activities that our kids are pretty excited about in our district. I've heard some rumblings from kids pretty excited about those things, and we're glad to be able to do that. And I know that takes extra effort, and appreciate your guys' efforts.
Great. Justin? Kim?
I would echo what Jessica said. I think my daughter was at the bonfire, had a blast. Even the taco eating contest, she thought that was a little funny, but.
Sounds like you've started a new tradition, perhaps.
Yeah, I would like to try and add that to our Saturday evening, but fall homecoming.
I thought maybe we'd get a demonstration tonight from Dr. Moore.
I tied second with Marlo, so.
So, again, thanks for the effort you put in.
John?
Nothing for me today.
Paul, nothing?
Good.
All right. Danelle?
I don't have much to share as far as meetings go right now. It's kind of slowed down a little bit.
Okay. Everything is pretty much on demand on KASB's side if you want to go look at some different topics and get some training on it.
Are they going to reduce our costs since they're saving so much money by not having to do all those trainings?
If you can get that negotiated for us, that'd be great since you're our negotiator.
Well, and I haven't got 1,000 paper emails, like where they send you those
Big booklets of training
Oh,
they have?
yeah.
Man, they must be saving all kinds of money out there.
Our next board meeting is scheduled for April 12th here at the high school library. If there's anything that you would like to put on the agenda, it looks like April's filling up and going to be kind of a big meeting anyway, but let Clark or me know about that. The next scheduled meeting, however, for us is 3 weeks from tonight, March 29th, and that's the KASB board training from 6 to 8, and like Clark mentioned early on, you'll have dinner here, I guess, at about 5:45 beforehand. If there's nothing more, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Bill? I'll give that to Ken. All in favor, raise your right hand. We are adjourned. Thank you for your time.
Janelle, what do you need signed? Minutes, and it's up there on the table where Jessica's going?